Hi, we're just getting ready for a live performance of the Transform Your Wealth and Health podcast. I've got Jeroen Hoppe with me at the moment, and we're just getting the little tech stuff sorted so that we can put out a live podcast recording. So let's wait for the nod and see if we can go straight for it. Hopefully you're all tuned in. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah.
Good. You good?
Yeah, I'm all good.
All right.
Ready for it, Andy?
Okay, let's go for it. He's a property investor and entrepreneur that does things all his own way. He's the writer of the hugely successful Clapham property blog. It's Mr. South London himself, Jeroen Hoppe. Jeroen, how are we doing?
Really good, Andy. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem at all. Thank you for coming over. So, tell us all about your background, if you may. I mean, we need to know a little bit about what you've done in the past so that we can get a feel for where you've come to now. Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, we had a bit of a chat beforehand about
Yes.
when I came to the UK.
Yeah. I stopped you, didn't I?
Yeah.
No, don't tell me too much because we need to hear it on the podcast.
I only need to tell it again. So, yeah, in a nutshell, very international upbringing. So, born in South Africa, Dutch parents, and we did a lot of traveling when I was younger. So, from Mozambique to Lebanon to New York, Nigeria, Israel, lots of weird and wonderful places.
I've got to ask you, how come so many places then?
My father was a diplomat, so the procedure was basically you stay in a country for 3 to 4 years, and then you get moved on to a new posting. Mm-hmm. So people always say like, "Oh, your English is so good." I'm like, "Well, it should be. It's my first language after all." But yeah, international schools, international upbringing, so lots of different cultures and vibes around me my whole life. So coming to the UK wasn't really that much of a stretch. I spent a bit of time in Holland, where I actually went to a sort of Dutch international school. It was Dutch-British, so I switched over to the British
So you
system.
can speak Dutch?
Yeah. My parents spoke Dutch to me at home, so I'm perfectly bilingual, and as my name suggests, I still have orange blood. But yeah, coming to London was pretty straightforward because a lot of my friends were also moving to the UK, London in particular, because I did international baccalaureate. It was a British sort of school, and lots of people were coming to London, so I thought, oh, this is a great place to study, because I had this thing about being taught in English. I didn't really want to switch to being taught in Dutch, and they did sort of English courses at university level in Holland, but I had this thing that I didn't want to be taught by someone in whatever subject by someone who spoke English less well than me, especially with the Dutch accent being what it is. It would just annoy me. So
quite strong sometimes.
Oh, it's
I
terrible.
do love the Dutch, by the way.
Oh, they're great, and they speak really good English generally, but the accent, oh man, it just gets me. So yeah, moved to London, did a marketing degree, subsequently failed miserably at getting a marketing job. So I actually fell into to a estate agency.
But if you fail in marketing in London, then it's probably not for you.
It's probably not for me, no. But anyway, I fell into a estate agency and did quite well with that. I moved up to sort of branch manager level quite quickly, ran my own office, and later on ran my own estate agency.
What
as well.
area was this in? Was this in South London?
Yeah, all South London.
Yeah.
I did a little stint in West London ever so briefly at the start of my career, but most of it's been South London. So Oval, Dulwich, Lewisham, a little bit in Southfields as well. So I know Wimbledon and obviously living in South London, you sort of live and breathe the area, and you get a really good feel of what works investment-wise. So I quickly became wise to the whole buy-to-let idea and bought my first property after a year of being in an estate agency. That worked really well, just kept on going, refinanced, and kept on buying.
What years was this?
So I bought my first one in 2004. It wasn't an HMO or anything like that. It was just standard buy-to-let. Oh, it was a great yield at the time, 6.5% for a Victorian conversion. No,
pretty reasonable.
Bought it with a 97% mortgage. mortgage, because back in the day you could do all that.
In those days, yeah.
Practically bought it on a credit card. I think the deposit was something like £5,000. It was very, very cheap.
You'd like some of those now, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'd buy them all day long. if I knew then what I know now, then wow, we'd be doing this interview in Barbados.
Hindsight would be in shorts on the. Well, you are in shorts.
I am in shorts. Yeah, it's summertime after all. It's like the hottest day of the year as we record. So
yeah.
I also just kept on buying, and then when I left my employer, set up for myself, I did quite well again. You know, the revenue went up, well, from 0 to 100,000 in a year to 200, 300, and just kept on going. And I sort of fell into the pin circuit. I started doing some talks there. Did the lettings update for Wimbledon Pin back in the day. Met Trevor Cutmore, who taught me a lot. And basically, people were saying to me all day long, like, "Oh, you should do this full time. You should be an investor full time." Like, well, you know, I've got this estate agency, and I like what I do, and all that sort of thing. But yeah, then an opportunity came along to partner up my estate agency with another firm, and I took it. So I had some money. Bought a flat, renovated it, sold it, bought another one, hung on to it, refinanced, and then I used the whole mantra of, get angel investors on board, and I just grew a portfolio. I went from 3 properties to 9 in the space of 2.5 years.
Wow, it's quite a growth when you've got to do the work that goes in with it. Excuse me, because of course you've got, not just a matter of doing the projects, but you've got to find finance and all the other technical stuff that goes with the build, and because you refurbish a lot of yours, don't you?
Absolutely, you buy them in poor condition and you add value. So I add a lot of value by reconfiguring. So I'll buy your typical flats, 3 bedrooms, and move the kitchen to a lounge, make a 4th bedroom. Maybe add an extra bathroom. I've done it from 4 to 5 bedrooms as well. Just adding value through refurbishment and reconfiguration.
Okay, so why Clapham Property Blog? How did that come about?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked me that.
I ask these questions.
Yeah. You're known for that. So the Clapham Property Blog came about because my agency was in Clapham, and I figured, what better way to attract Clapham landlords than to write about the Clapham property market? So hence the Clapham Property Blog. I just started writing. And talked a lot about yields, about different investments and different sort of strategies. Back in the day, people would just buy a property and it would wash its face, as in
like single lets. For
single lets, yeah. People would just buy them and go, "Oh well, the rent is £1,000, the mortgage is £1,000. Great, we'll buy it." And they'll just hope the property goes up in value, and one day they'll sell it and make some money. It was very much like that. Can't do that anymore, can you?
Not just at the minute, no.
But anyway, so the blog came along, and I was giving away content and YouTube videos and how investments work and that sort of thing, tips, tricks, hints. It was all working very well.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah.
And I kept it going after I got rid of the agency, after I partnered it with the other firm. I just kept it going because I actually thought it was a really worthwhile thing to keep going, because investors would see me and see my projects, become interested in what I do, and get in touch, and that's been happening all day, every day.
So although I'm more of a North London guy, as you know, I've obviously seen your stuff on Clapham, and it's really interesting, good stuff. As you say, there's tips and tricks and all sorts of things that you put into it. So
most of it you can apply everywhere. It's just that I happen to drill down into the nitty-gritty of South London, because that's what I know. I mean, I don't invest in Manchester because I haven't got the foggiest. And I always think it's all good and well. I hear people chasing yield. Oh, I hear the yields are good in the Midlands now. I think, well, by the time you've driven up to the Midlands, sat in a coffee shop, felt the area, talked to local property people, been to 100 networking meetings, to maybe one day dip your toe in the water in the Midlands, why don't you just find an area close to you that works? It's much less effort, and all the time and petrol and effort that you've wasted driving to the Midlands, you could be focusing on something that's on your doorstep.
What about the entry level for London, of course, because the Midlands compared to London, the entry level is going to be different. So.
Yes, the petrol money does does help in terms of, you'd have to spend an awful lot of petrol to compensate for the higher acquisition price in London, be it south or north or whatever.
How would you get around that if you was someone who's just starting out, for example?
Well, if you're just starting out and you're looking at London investments, I think the best way to really do that is to work together with someone who either has more money or more experience, can add something to the table. Yes, you're quite right in saying that the price of London properties is prohibitive for most. But I think that's a mindset thing. I didn't start with an endless pot of money. Yes, I did have some money because I just refinanced a place. That did quite well for me over the years, so I was lucky in that sense. But most of the money that I used to build my portfolio came from angel investors. So I was quite good at building a relationship with people, showing them what I've done with my own money, and they were convinced in my abilities, and they were happy to lend me money for further projects. And that's really how I started the snowball rolling.
So if you were someone that's maybe on the second step, let's say, then you've done a little bit of investing and now you want to attract angel investors, what would you suggest is the best way to do it?
Well, the way I did it, and this is by no means the holy grail or the best way, or it's just the way that I did it, is I took what I knew, I applied it, and I documented it. So over the course of the few projects, I took lots of pictures, videos, I did lots of Facebooking and updates and that sort of thing. And through my following of the Clapham property blog, I suppose I was one step ahead of most there. I was already seen as a semi-authority on lettings in South London.
You niched down quite well, didn't you?
Thank you. So I had a following, all these updates went out, and I suppose that reinforced the credibility that I had, that I was actually doing what I said was possible theoretically, because it's all good and well writing a book and going, oh, you can invest in property and you can get such and so yield, and until people see it with their own eyes and they look at the videos and they go, oh wow, okay, he's walking around a flat that he actually owns. They won't take you seriously. People want to see. Seeing is believing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, some of the sales things that I do, and I'm doing on a regular basis, like every day pretty much, I've been teaching to some of the property people. And a lot of the property people that I know have been trying a few of these techniques, and they're coming up trumps. And one of them just during the week messaged me and said, this shit works. So you've got to keep getting out there, and you've got to keep failing and keep trying and trying. But ultimately, he's had a good result, so what can you say? Gonna jump back slightly and ask you a little bit about your investing strategy, if you don't mind telling us about that, because I know there's one or two things that you do at the moment that's probably a little bit different from some of the other people out there that are doing investing.
Yeah, sure. So I became an HMO investor really by accident, because people confuse the word HMO, or the phrase or acronym, however you want to call it, HMO with multi-let. They think they're synonymous. Now, I'm very much of a mindset that you can make as much money with a single let AST as you can on a multi-let. So a lot of people, they say, oh great, for example, the rent-to-rent strategy, the ethos is
just for the people that don't know, AST?
Assured short haul tenancy.
That's so like the standard agreement.
Your default sort of tenancy, so compare that to renting by the room. So you have single let and multi-let. Single let, you're just talking, right, I'm renting a one-bedroom flat with my wife or girlfriend or whatever. Multi-let, you live in a house share with 5 other people, for example. So a lot of people, they think that you'll make more money by including the bills and charging by the room than you will if you let out the property to a single person. And to some extent that's true with the bigger properties, 5-6 beds. But there's not a lot of them around in London. Most of the properties that we look at 2, 3, 4 beds,
Yeah.
maybe 5 on occasion. But the way that I get the best yields, drum roll.
Record this quickly.
This is golden. Is you have to buy my ebook. It's on my website. I present a superior product, and the properties I have, they're in very, very good condition. They're always 3, 4, 5 beds, which are in shorter supply than the 1s and 2 beds.
Right.
I make my properties available between August and September because the lettings market in London is very cyclical. You get a lot of students that start their new term in September. Now, I don't let to students, so that's not why I do it.
Okay.
But what happens is there's so many people looking in August and September, and it spills over a little bit into October because you get the stragglers who were a bit unorganised and too late putting their deposit down. You get so many people looking in that sort of 6 to 8 week period, from sort of August 14th to September 30th, that the rents jump up by 20%.
Oh, right. And that's just because of your timing?
Just because of the timing.
I mean, no wonder you said drum roll for that. You're in.
And I tell that to people who are experienced investors, and they go, really? I said, yeah, how many times have you moved at Christmas?
True.
Oh, you're right, no one moves at Christmas.
Does, no.
And I actually have this article on my blog where I've taken the data from my CRM, my customer relationship management system from my estate agency, and I've plotted the number of applicant registrations with the month of the year. And you can see it just spikes in August. And that doesn't mean that the best rents are in August. It actually means the best rents are in September. Because by the time those people that have registered have made a decision, we're into September.
It's that old supply and demand type stuff.
Supply and demand. So if you're letting out a 3, 4, 5 bed property, you must do it between sort of 15th of August and 30th of September because you will simply get the best rents.
So how do you get them onto one AST then?
Well, I let through my agency that I partnered with, and there was no shortage of inquiries of groups of 3, 4, 5 at that time of the year.
I never knew that.
It's not so much so that you use a website like Spare Room and the inquiries for rooms go through there. Because truth be told, I have done it before. I've let by the room, and it's painful. I absolutely hate it. Because you get the shape of the room is a bit awkward. It's square or it's rectangular. Like how can it be? Whatever. I don't care. When you have groups of 3, 4, 5, and you do, I know this probably sounds a bit cowboy to people who have ever looked at a flat with an estate agent, and they go, there were 10 other people in there. But that's just time management because I can't show it 10 times. I'll just have 1 hour. 1 day of the week. If you can't make it, hey, that's tough. There's 20 other groups of people that can. And I feel like an auctioneer sometimes. And that's how I let properties at the best price, so be it. And I've had people take stuff based on the photos and they say, these photos, are they real? Are they real? Is this really the flat? I say, yeah, come and see it. And they show up and they're like, it is like the photo. Here's my money straight away.
Oh, that's good. Do you mainly, I think I've heard you say in the past, invest in ex-council places?
Yes, so that's another part of my niche to make the yields work, I suppose, is that the acquisition of properties in London is quite expensive, and ex-council properties are generally 20% cheaper.
Right, and bigger too sometimes, aren't they?
More rooms, I suppose, and a bedroom is money in terms of rent. If you could rent out a 4 bed for more than you can a 3 bed, quite simply. And yes, the rental price of an ex-local authority property is slightly less, but it's certainly not proportionally less than the acquisition price. So your yield jumps up.
Yeah, right, okay. Good tips here, Jeroen.
Well, content is what I'm looking to deliver.
Why not? Do you ever teach or mentor any people at all?
Well, in actual fact, a lot of people have asked me, and in the past I've shied away from it. But yeah, there are some people that I'm helping along the way, and they're seeing some very good results from it. So if anyone's interested in hearing more about that, then by all means get in touch. Okay.
What's the best way to get hold of you, by the way, while we're on that subject?
Well, you can get hold of me through my website, jeroenhoppe.com, or the Clapham Property blog, or find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, or as long as you can spell my name right, I'm sure you can find me.
Tell people how you spell your name.
It's Jeroen.
Yeah.
The surname is Hoppe, Hoppe.
Okay, so you're looking a lot fitter and healthier recently. So, you know, as we're a sort of wealth and health show, can we ask you about your health journey too?
Oh wow, it's been a big journey actually, and I think it's one of those things that you dip into and out of in your life. And last year, I had a life-changing event that I won't bore you with, but in essence,
you were able to touch on it a little bit, or?
Well, I separated from my wife, and
Okay.
I decided that I need to look after myself, and I started eating better and exercising a bit more and just taking time for myself. And I think once you sort of reflect and you take time to look at yourself and think, right, I need to make some changes, then I think the changes come quite quickly. I think the body follows what the mind tells you. So once I was of the mindset that I was going to do something about it, it all happened quite quickly. And as with any sort of weight loss or transformation journey, you hit stumbling blocks, and there's people along the way that will help you. I know a good friend of mine, Dick Patel. He's undergone a transformation as well, and I've been picking his brains for advice for a long time in terms of weight management. And my business partner, Daniel Dennis, he's gotten very, very big over the past few years. He's been a big inspiration for me as well. So combining those two sort of people in my life, I'm eating better. I hit the gym regularly, and I'm a big cycling enthusiast as well. And I've actually not cycled very much over the past 6 months. Just it's been so cold, but the weather today is fantastic, so I might hop out on the bike.
You could have come on your bike.
I could have done. It's a little bit fun, pushing it a little bit.
Maybe just a touch.
But we've arrived in a sweaty puddle. I'm sure it's a whole day today. But I love cycling, and I really got into cycling a couple of years ago. I hit a lot of personal bests. If anyone out there is a cyclist, I'm on Strava. I've lost a few KOMs, but I'll gain them back this year. Now that I've lost, I've lost a total of 16 kilos of body weight.
Wow.
And I've put on an amazing amount of muscle thanks to
a bit of muscle going on.
The weight training that I've been doing is fantastic. I'm fitting into clothes. I was actually at a networking meeting the other day, and I said to some good friends there, I'm actually wearing a pair of jeans that I didn't dare throw out because they were that new. I'd only worn them twice. Bought them in 1999. And they've been in my cupboard for that long, but they were like Levi's 501s, and they were jet black and beautiful. I did not want to throw them out or charity shop. I just kept them in the back of my wardrobe forever and ever and ever, thinking I'll fit back into those one day, and I do.
Well done, that's superb. Well done to you.
There you go.
So, I wanted to ask a little bit about lifestyle, because you touched on it there, obviously a change of lifestyle, but you make your work match your lifestyle. So instead of your lifestyle match your work, which a lot of people do. So tell us a little bit about that, if you could.
Oh, my lifestyle is fantastic. I just make everything work together. So, Monday, Wednesday and Friday are sort of my work meeting days, and Tuesdays and Thursdays I see my kids and go to the gym. And the weekend's pretty much free to spend with friends and have my kids and get another gym session in. So, I just mix and match really. I don't, I don't have a 9 to 5. I just fit everything in. It's brilliant. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, that's the holy grail," and I'm very grateful for having achieved that. And I think being able to come down to you, drive with the top down in my car, and just show up in the shorts and a short sleeve shirt to what is effectively a business meeting. That's level achieved for me.
Well, absolutely superb. I'm glad you're moving on in your business and your personal life too. So, all power to you, Jeroen. I've got your name right.
Yeah. 10 points. I don't give away 10 points very often.
Thank you. Okay, so getting towards the end of the show now, investors that are out there. They've got 1 or 2% coming in from their bank account, and I know there's plenty of people out there that can help them invest in property. People like yourself are obviously a good option if they're in your area and they want to know more. Would you do investments as a joint venture with people?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done joint ventures in the past, which have been very fruitful actually. Did a flip the year before and one. Blimey, I'm trying to think now. I don't do them very often because in London the opportunities are very difficult to come by in the sort of price level that I work at.
Yeah.
A lot of my investors, they want long-term, just park, hold, rent out, whatever. So I do 3 things really. JVs for flips, yes, but the opportunities are very, they come by very seldom. People can invest in my property portfolio and in return, it's like a property earn and learn scheme.
Yeah.
So in return for a loan, I'll acquire a property and I'll show them the ins and outs and how it all works and that sort of thing. Or if they want to acquire their own properties and build their own portfolio, I do a sourcing service together with my business partner Daniel. That's under the WeSourceLondon.properties brand. And we've done it very successfully over the past year. We've built very high yielding portfolios for people, basically using the model that I've built my portfolio on, going, well, it works for me, we'll just replicate it for you. You want the same? Great, we'll do everything turnkey. Similar style finish, we'll let it for your manager, all the rest of it, so it's very hands-off.
Absolutely superb. If you could tell people one more time what's the best way to get you, and we'll leave it there if we can.
Great, sure thing. So the best way to get hold of me is on my website, jeroenhoppe.com, jeroenhoppe.com, or find me on LinkedIn or Facebook.
Okay, Jeroen, thanks for coming over, it's been great.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
Thank you.